Angela Reddock-Wright is founding and managing partner of the Reddock Law Group, an employment and labor law mediation firm based in Los Angeles. Angela, thanks for joining us. First, I want to ask you, what does it mean to you that this hearing is happening, as Owen said, in the Me Too era?
Well, it's quite significant because this is an example of what women over the last year and quite frankly for decades have been fighting for, to be heard, that when they come forward and they say that incidents of harassment, sexual assault happen to them, to be taken seriously. So it's significant. It's been 30 years since we've seen something of this nature, and for it to happen at this point in our time, in our history, is quite important.
You mentioned there 30 years ago the Anita Hill hearing back in 1991. How do you think this hearing, the questioning, was different than it was back then?
Well, here we have an independent examiner, although the questions are also filled with the senators asking questions directly. But the fact that there's a trained sex crimes prosecutor and investigator leading the questions and leading the examination is important because it gives an opportunity to truly get Dr. Ford's story on the table and to understand what happened, what she remembers, and to ask it from the point of view of someone who presumably knows how to establish the credibility of witnesses or to discredit witnesses. But I think this morning we saw an examination that allowed for Dr. Ford to show that she truly is a credible witness.
Angela, we saw Dr. Ford leave, and we've just seen live pictures of Judge Kavanaugh entering the hearing room that's happening right now. Millions of people in America and indeed around the world are watching this. Do you think this will encourage or discourage victims of sexual assault to speak out?
I think it will encourage. And again, this is just, Dr. Ford obviously is quite significant, but we've seen many women and men come forward in the last year saying, not being afraid anymore to say that they have been victims of harassment or sexual assault. So I think certainly Dr. Ford's bravery and her courage will encourage others to come forward as well. 10
years from now, 20 years from now, what do you think will be the memorable moment from Dr. Ford's hearing?
I think the fact that just when it was assumed that someone would automatically be appointed to the Supreme Court without a thorough background check, I think it's sending the message that nothing's automatic anymore, and that if you know something about someone that's going to serve in a high public level, a high political level, that it's important to stand up and to be heard, because these are the individuals that represent the interests of all Americans. And it's important that we have people in those positions that we can trust. We have people who we know are sensitive to the plight of women and everyday Americans. And so Dr. Ford coming forward sends a strong message that no more. We want our public leaders, we want our justices to be accountable to the public that they serve.
Anita Hill, of course, faced a committee of all men. On Thursday, there were, of course, women also questioning Dr. Ford. How do you think that's perceived? How do you think that changes the conversation?
Well, I think it's important because while men and women are equal and certainly should be treated equally, we also have different points of view and different perspectives. So it's very important that women are able to ask questions, because we'll ask questions from our point of view and questions that may not automatically come to the mind or maybe in the forefront of the minds of men. So it's important to have both genders represented equally and to have both genders provided the opportunity to ask questions. So I think that's quite significant and important, and something we did not see 30 years ago.
Angela Reddock-Wright from the Reddock Law Group, and I should note a fellow Bruin. Thank you so much for joining us.